You can develop sound shot placement skills if you practice, but there are 5 pitfalls you must be aware of because they can mess up all your careful practice and preparation. They can mean the difference between a trophy on your wall and an empty space. And even worse, they can result in a wounded deer and that gut-wrenching feeling that all of us want to avoid. Welcome to the Red Kettle channel. This is where you get updates on product development and tips and tricks for efficient hunting. This video is all about the 5 shot placement pitfalls you must avoid. And importantly, how you avoid them. They go hand in hand with the 11 shot placement scenarios and the 9 shot placement rules. Check out this video if you haven't already watched it, or wait till the end where I'll share the full playlist. Once upon a time I was riding in the back of an open top Land Cruiser down a dirt track in the Central African Republic. Further up the road, a warthog crossed our track. We stopped the car, I grabbed my rifle, jumped off and got ready. We moved quietly through the bush to cut off the warthog, and it didn't take us long to spot it. It hadn't seen us, but it must have had an appointment somewhere because it was on the move and it didn't hang around. I got my rifle on the sticks and followed the warthog, waiting for it to pause. As it stopped briefly, halfway behind a bush, I aimed at a clear spot and pulled the trigger. Big mistake. If you practice the shot placement rules and the scenarios in our Where to Shoot a Deer video, you'll be well on your way. They'll serve as flashcards to help you get your sights on the target fast and put venison in the freezer and a trophy on your wall. But the 5 pitfalls can get in your way. They may get you to select the wrong aiming point and wound an animal. Pitfall number 1, turning your head, not quartering. For a 45-degree front quartering shot, the rules state that you must aim inside the near leg, but sometimes a turned head can look like a quartering shot, and depending on how sharp the turn is, you might be closer to a broadside shot than you think. The pro tip here is to look at the legs. If the animal stands on straight legs, a quartering shot will create an S pattern through the hooves. If the legs reach forward or back, you can draw an imaginary line between the 2 near hooves and look at the angle. That's an essential quick check for determining if the deer is quartering or broadside to you. Pitfall number 2, aiming at the middle of the animal. You might shake your head at this one if you're a seasoned hand, then be happy that you've forgotten the chaos of dealing with a million new concepts at once. If you're new to hunting, be aware that basic mistakes are not uncommon when you're under pressure, when you have to juggle too many new concepts at once. The fix is easy, fortunately. Practice the 11 shot placement scenarios and remember that your vertical post always sits on, by or between the front legs. Pitfall number 3, shooting when the animal is feeding. You can take a shot when the animal is feeding with its head down, especially for a broadside shot. But if it's quartering, turning the head, it makes sense to wait until it raises its head to orient, which it will do. That way it's much easier to identify the correct aiming point. Pitfall number 4, the animal is lying down. Well, shooting a resting animal is not impossible, but the challenges you have with a feeding shot are amplified. The vital organs are more bunched up, and getting an accurate lock on the key reference points can be challenging. Once on a trip to Kazakhstan, I was on the last day of the hunt. I'd already missed an opportunity to shoot because I was too slow, and we found 2 ibex resting. After waiting for a good while, we all got a little bit impatient because this was probably our last chance, so I decided to take a shot at the resting animal. A couple of factors made me comfortable with that shot. I was on a ledge above the animal, shooting downhill at about 45 degrees and aligned with the animal's body, so it was easy to locate my aiming point. It was also relatively close for mountain hunting, about 200 meters or 220 yards, and my rifle was accurate and powerful, so I wasn't concerned about not creating enough damage. So I was okay with breaking my own shot placement rules. I took the shot and the ibex never got up. Don't use this example as an excuse to shoot any animal lying down. Use it as a reminder that I took great care in assessing this type of shot before taking it, and so should you. Pitfall number 5. The animal is partially hidden by vegetation. Well, back to Central Africa. As the shot broke, the warthog ran fast. We looked for spoor at the spot where I'd hit it. There was no blood, just hair and a few fragments of flesh. Long story short, I wounded the animal, but not fatally, because I'd aimed at what I could see through the vegetation. I shot forward and low. Shooting through vegetation isn't a no-go. If it's close and light, it's definitely doable. And if you use a bullet of a reasonable construction, that's hitting the animal at a moderate velocity. However, you must make sure you're aiming at the right spot. Don't let the vegetation force your aiming point. It's easy to fall into pitfall number 5 when all you have are windows and vegetation. Another classic example is a deer in tall grass, where you adjust your come up based on what you can see instead of the actual body, and then you hit too high. One hitting too high in another video. I'll link to it here when it's ready. That warthog, there's no need for you to make the same mistake. Set yourself up for success by studying these 5 pitfalls and review the 9 rules and 11 shot placement scenarios, as well as all the other shot placement videos we're adding to the playlist. By the way, getting your sights on target fast requires you to get your rifle ready fast. But sometimes you need that rifle out of the way. That's why we designed the quick release rifle sling. Check out this demo if you want your rifle under control but ready for action.